Okay, so here's something to think about. The US and Israel are hitting pause on major military actions in the Middle East, but it's not exactly a peace plan. It's more like a strategic timeout.
And that timeout seems to have everything to do with elections coming up in both countries. Let's get into it.
Welcome to DeActa Daily Digest. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Juniper. Here are today's top stories.
Let's start with this temporary de-escalation strategy by the US and Israel. It's a fascinating move, especially since it's not about resolving conflicts, but rather delaying any major actions until after the US midterms and Israel's elections. What's your first impression?
Well, it feels like a chess game where both players are stalling to avoid making the wrong move. The U.S. is maintaining sanctions and a naval presence to keep pressure on Iran, but they're clearly avoiding anything that could escalate into a full-blown conflict. It's a calculated risk.
Exactly. And the reasoning behind it is pretty clear. The U.S. administration doesn't want to jeopardize Republican control of Congress in the midterms. A new war or skyrocketing gas prices could be politically disastrous. It's a pragmatic decision, but it's not without consequences.
And then there's Iran's role in all this. The article mentions that hardliners within the Iranian government have tightened their demands, likely betting that the U.S. won't follow through on its threats. That makes negotiations pretty much impossible for now, so the U.S. is doubling down on economic pressure instead.
Right? And that economic pressure is central to their strategy. The sanctions are designed to squeeze Iran financially, with the hope that it will either push them toward more realistic negotiations or create internal instability. But it's a long game, and there's no guarantee it will work.
And let's not forget the logistical angle. The Pentagon apparently needs time to rebuild its stockpile of interceptors and strike munitions. That's a practical reason for the pause, but it also highlights how stretched U.S. military resources are right now. It's a reminder that even superpowers have limits.
For Israel, this approach seems to align with their interests. The US sanctions and maritime controls make it harder for Iran to fund its proxies like Hezbollah. It's a way for Israel to keep the pressure on without taking direct action themselves. But the situation in Gaza is where things get really complicated.
That's true. The article talks about two distinct efforts in Gaza. One focused on military logistical measures like building temporary residential enclaves, and another on a political negotiation roadmap for disarming Hamas. But neither effort seems to be making much progress, especially with Israel rejecting the phased withdrawal plan.
And that rejection seems to be tied directly to Netanyahu's political strategy. With Israeli elections coming up, he's taking a hardline stance to appeal to his base. But this could backfire by stalling diplomacy and worsening conditions in Gaza.
It's a precarious situation. The article mentions fears of renewed military actions near the Yellow Line and worsening humanitarian conditions. It's a stark reminder of how much these geopolitical decisions are influenced by domestic political calculations.
Speaking of calculated moves, let's pivot to the second story about Volkswagen's 2027 Atlas Cross Sport. This is a major redesign, and it's clear VW is aiming to make a statement with this one.
Absolutely. The new Cross Sport has a sleeker, more modern design with a fastback-like rear and a tidier silhouette. It's a significant departure from the chunkier designs of the past, and it's definitely eye-catching.
And it's not just about looks. Under the hood, VW has upgraded the powertrain with the Evo 5 variant of their 2.0-liter TSI engine. It's more powerful with 282 horsepower, and it's also more fuel efficient thanks to the Miller cycle and a variable geometry turbocharger.
The interior upgrades are just as impressive. Volkswagen is clearly aiming for a more premium feel, with features like real wood trim, larger touchscreens, and a relocated gear selector that frees up space in the center console. It's all about creating a more upscale, user-friendly experience.
And they've added some clever touches, like dual wireless charging pads with magnetic phone holders and a multifunction driver experience dial. It's these little details that make a big difference in how a car feels to use every day.
What's also interesting is the production strategy. The Cross Sport will be built in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's set to hit the market in early 2027. It's clear that VW is targeting the U.S. market with this model, and they're positioning it as a more style-focused alternative to the three-row Atlas.
It's a smart move, By offering a more compact and sporty option, they're appealing to buyers who want something practical, but also a little more dynamic, and the timing gives them plenty of runway to build anticipation.
Speaking of timing, let's circle back to the third story about Netanyahu's rejection of the U.S. Gaza roadmap. This one dives deeper into the implications of that decision, and it's not a pretty picture.
It really isn't. By rejecting the roadmap, Netanyahu is essentially stalling any progress toward a ceasefire and potentially deepening the crisis in Gaza. The article highlights how this decision could lead to renewed conflict and worsen the already dire humanitarian situation.
And it's not just about Gaza. The article points out that Netanyahu's stance is likely tied to his domestic political fortunes. Facing corruption charges and a tough election, he's doubling down on a hardline approach to rally his base. But that strategy comes at a cost, both for the people of Gaza and for regional stability.
And the regional reaction has been sharp. Egypt, for example, has warned against policies that could force Palestinians to leave Gaza, calling out the so-called voluntary displacement as anything but voluntary. It's a stark reminder of how interconnected these issues are.
And it's not just Egypt. Observers and analysts are warning that without external pressure on Israel to comply with the roadmap, the diplomatic track could collapse entirely. It's a precarious situation, and it underscores the challenges of balancing domestic politics with international diplomacy.
It's a sobering note to end on, but it's a reminder of how complex and interconnected these issues are. From geopolitics to automotive innovation, there's always more beneath the surface.
Absolutely. Thanks for diving into these topics with me. There's always so much to unpack, and it's great to have these conversations.
Likewise, until next time.